What's up everybody and welcome back to the YouTube channel. Hope everyone's well. I'm great, thank you for asking. We're going to be talking about blood work today. So those of you guys who have followed the channel for a while, you would have seen many of these blood work videos over the years. We're back with another one. We're back with one that is 6 weeks, maybe 5.5 weeks post-show. So post-blast, post-orals, post 1500 milligrams plus of injectables as well. And we're gonna just cover these, and I'm gonna give you any tips, any tricks, any things that I think that you need to look out for, things you need to be concerned about, and potentially things that you can do to mitigate some of the damage. So first things first, the thing you always get first is a red blood count. Now, with red blood count and being an assisted user, the thing to take note of this is, while all of these right now, as you scroll down, are pretty much in range, my white blood cells are pretty low. I'd just come back from Ibiza, so I was a little bit ill. You know, at the top here, when we look at red blood cells, hemoglobin, hematocrit, the thing to take into consideration is this is on TRT. This is on 150 milligrams of testosterone only. So when and if I go up, this number is only going to go up. So you can see that I'm just outside the scale. I'm on hemoglobin and hematocrit. To be expected, I'm 110 kilos, I'm 6'1", I'm on steroids, I'm pretty lean, so I'm going to have a higher red blood count anyway because of the way I train. This is something to be conscious of. You don't want this to go too high, you don't want to get too much of a red blood count. It can, not that it will, coagulate, it can thicken your blood, it can increase your chances of blood clots. So keeping your blood level pretty normal is always a good idea. All my red blood cells are absolutely fine. I've got nothing to be concerned of. As we move over to biochemistry, which is going to be things like creatine kinase, CRP, HbA1c, and all of these different things here. So creatine kinase is going to be affected by training. It's going to be affected by hard work and muscle breakdown. To see this off the charts nearly, in fact, it's still on the charts on this one, which is quite nice to see, is pretty normal. It's pretty normal in most lifters, if not all lifters. You may well want to try and take 3 to 4 days completely off before blood tests to get a more accurate level, but this is right where I sat here, which obviously you see red, you think, oh no, but this is pretty normal. I don't think I've had a creatine kinase market in range. I don't think I've seen any that are in range in bodybuilders, natural or not. So that's something to consider. CRP is going to be levels of inflammation in your body, so this is nice and low. You really want to be below 1, if I'm honest. You want to hit that as low as possible. Kind of measures low levels of inflammation, but also high levels of inflammation. And if you do have high CRP, high levels of inflammation, it's not a good sign. You want to be able to bring that as low as possible. You're going to feel a lot of negatives when you're up high on that. HbA1c, now HbA1c is something to consider here. If you're using growth hormone, if you're diabetic, of course, these things are going to be a little bit out of range. But here as someone who uses growth hormone, which will naturally bring your insulin resistance up, I'm here at 36 mmol over the mole, which it's very much in range, but out of range is about 42, 44. That's when you start to creep into pre-diabetic. And I'm starting my blast right now. So that means I'm going to be having more insulin levels, higher insulin levels, higher blood glucose. As I start to ramp food up, as I start to bring growth hormone in and or up. It's very vital that you do keep hold of this HbA1c. This is a snapshot of your blood glucose over a 90-day period. Obviously the 45 days before this would have been much higher than the 40 days before that. And obviously when you use growth hormone things, that's going to creep up. So this is where things like insulin can come in to help offset that insulin production and bring down that blood glucose and ultimately keep you sensitive to blood glucose and insulin resistance. So that's something to note, but I'm all good here. Iron's all good, ferritin, UIBC. This is a very comprehensive test here. Albumin's all good, which is a really good one to check for. Kidney function and total protein level is fine as well as globulin. So we are all good there. In terms of hormones, and now I was running 150 milligrams of testosterone, and I had done a 50 to 60 milligram injection the day before, which is very key to note here and very key to note into your blood work levels, because you will reach peak plasma within 24 hours with an injection, but it would also come down quite quickly if there's not another injection. So I would have got that right at the peak, which is why, as we scroll down to the bottom here, you see my testosterone is at 36.2 nanomoles, and you'll see that this actually has the normal range as 25 nanomoles. I was 26 nanomoles when I was natural, so they've narrowed this range a little bit for whatever reason. I've also had people who are 32 nanomoles on that testosterone scale. I'm 36, so that's a little bit above. That's right where I want to be, if I'm honest. I want to be at a higher level. I want to be in the natural range, so potentially this gives me a little bit of a warrant to come down to 130 milligrams, but I want to be high on that scale. I want to support my muscle mass. I don't want to go below where I was naturally, which is obviously very high on the scale anyway. So I want to mimic that as much as possible. Now, sex binding hormone globulin, SHBG, sex hormone binding globulin, is low. Now you're going to see that get low with the use of steroids. You are going to see that be affected. It essentially means you've got higher free testosterone, which you can see, which also links into higher estrogen, which you can see at 148. Now, the range being, at the high end of the range being 159, as you can see here. I want to be on that high range as well. I want to be high estrogen, high testosterone within those natural ranges. Estrogen is brain protective, it's anabolic, it's good for recovery. You do not want to be having low estrogen at any point really. LH and FSH at rock bottom, those are your natural hormones, your natural sex hormones, your follicle stimulating hormone and your luteinizing hormone. As soon as you start using exogenous hormone, both of those, which stimulate testosterone production in the testes, they stimulate spermatogenesis, they're both going to be hitting rock bottom. So that is normal to see those. And then the rest of these, with testosterone, prolactin, progesterone's a little bit high. That's something that I'll potentially just keep an eye on, maybe in 4 to 6 weeks time. But prolactin being nice and low as well, we're all good. Now, kidney function, this is the one where I have always struggled and I've been worried, and potentially without warrant to be worried. Now, first of all, we take these numbers. Creatinine is obviously high. Creatinine is going to be stimulated massively or increased massively by training, by muscle breakdown, high uses of creatine, high uses of creatine, not that I'm using creatine at the moment, along with urea. Like, those are going to be 2 key kidney markers, which kind of give you a number, which is EGFR, which is your estimated globular filtration rate. The thing about EGFR, like, this puts me right on the range. Like, if you're under the range, you like have kidney disease. And that's what I've always wondered, because I've had lower than this. This is 62 milliliters per minute. This is just not based off me. I've had 50s, I've had 40s, which is like stage 3 kidney disease. And I've always been very, very stressed about it. But this is only taking into consideration that I'm Caucasian. There are differences in GFR between races, but also height, weight, age, muscle mass, male or female. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click over, and I'm going to link this in the description box as well, to the National Kidney Foundation and the EGFR calculator. And what this is going to do is I'm going to put in my numbers here, which is 125 UML. I'm going to put in my age as well. I'm going to put in my gender, and then I'm also going to say adjust the body surface size area. So yes, I do want that. I'm 184 centimeters, and at the time of this test, I was 110 kilos. And that is going to calculate a much more accurate level of GFR, because it's going to take into account your height, your weight, your age, your gender, but also your race as well. So it's like 5 factor as opposed to 1. So you're going to get a much more accurate, and you can see as we scroll down here, I'm actually 93 milliliters per minute, based off everything else, based off where my creatinine is. Which, if we click over to the National Kidney website, we can see that having a GFR of 90 or above milliliters per minute is normal or high. And if you've got high filtration, that's not a problem. It means you're filtering very wrong. As soon as you start to creep into the 80s, maybe it's mildly decreased. And as you can see here, you start to creep into kidney failure and kidney disease. So it's really, really important that you take your GFR with a pinch of salt. It can be massively influenced by how hard you train, by the levels of creatinine in your body, how heavy you are, the muscle mass you carry. It's going to be affected. So either get yourself a cystatin C or use that calculation on the National Kidney website. I think that's really, really important. But the rest of these are absolutely fine. So liver function, everything here is fine. GGT, I would expect that to be a little bit low. That's kind of like your glutathione stores. I'd just come back from Ibiza. I'd been drinking, I'd been doing other things that would all deplete your glutathione. So to be in range here, I'm pretty happy with. Then you got ALP, ALT, and total bilirubin. Bilirubin and ALP are absolutely fine. ALT, alanine transferase, is again can be it's kind of like it's an inflamed kidney from stress, training very, very hard. I trained like that morning. I've been walking around on my feet all day. But that is a number that I would like to see a little bit lower. It's obviously like double the range, right? The range here is 0 to 50. Here at 103, I've doubled the range. I've had numbers above that before. I've had numbers below that before. Liver being something that is very, very regenerative. We don't concern too much with liver markers going up. You have to be wary of them. You have to make sure they're going down and make sure that when they're up, there is a down rather than just going up and up and up, and you mark that trend. But it's really, really important that you do take that. But pinch of salt, again, because it's very, very recoverable, if you want to call it, versus the kidneys, they don't recover. So you want to look after your kidneys. Next up, lipids. Now, these are what I'm, the happiest with, surprisingly. Still a few out of range here. Now, total cholesterol, 4.6. Considering I had just come off chomping orals like fucking biscuits, a very high cycle. I'd also spent 5 weeks reversing, right? Yes, I'm still very lean. I've controlled my reverse diet very, very well, but I've had meals out. I've had much higher cholesterol bearing foods. I've had, Chinese, Indian. I've had all the foods of pizzas, all those things that would carry a lot more cholesterol with them. So I'd expect that to be a little bit higher. The thing here I'm impressed with is my HDL. That's like where I was naturally. In fact, when I was natural, I was 0.92 mmol per liter. So this is the best my HDL has ever been. I've got many, many reasons why I attribute that to it. I think if you guys want to hear what I've done to improve this blood work more than ever, please comment down below, drop a like, let me know you want to see that, and I'm going to do like an in-depth supplement review of what I've been doing. But one of the supplements I've been using I think has just massively helped this, as well as doing my cardio and whatnot, which we'll talk about later. Now, LDL is a little bit high, to be expected. Like I said, eating a little bit more food, coming off that cycle, we'd expect that LDL to be a little bit high. What am I going to do? I'm going to introduce red rice yeast extract, which has been shown to be like a mild statin. It's not a statin, but it's like they use part of that sometimes to build the stronger statin, which can bring your LDL down. So I'm gonna bring that in. I've brought that in already, and I'll see how that trends over the next 3 or 4 weeks and if that comes down. Also, now that I'm going back on blast, I will be dialing that diet back in. I've had my fun. I'll have my 1 cheat meal a week. That's all I need. And we'll have that kind of 5 to 6 days of kind of 100% on plan, which will hopefully bring that LDL down. This is what brings my kind of total cholesterol level off. If my HDL was like above 1, you might see this ratio in and on point. If my LDL was down below 3, you might see this ratio on point. So that's to be expected when you consider those. Important things to worry about here are triglycerides as well. You want that below 1, 0.78 for me. That's really, really good. So I'm very, very happy with that. Thyroid function. This is something that I'm very keen to see, obviously coming off thyroid medication for my prep. Probably only dropped T4 about 6 days before this test. Now, what's really important about that time frame is that T4 has a half-life of 7 days. So you put 100 micrograms in, 7 days later, you've got 50 micrograms circling in your body, 7 days later, 25, 7 days later, 12.5. So it will take a little bit of time for this to come down, which is what I am expecting. Why TSH and free T4 are probably quite low. I feel like these are probably on the way down from my higher dose. Because I was on quite a high dose. I was actually on 150 micrograms, which I probably shouldn't have been on that high. I just was at the time. So I'm probably thinking this is like a snapshot of my thyroid on the way down. Now, T3, I haven't touched since prep. We dropped that T3 out straight away. So my T3 is moving very nicely, which is very, very nice. What I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to be retesting my thyroid. I've actually just ordered a test. It should come tomorrow. I'm headed to America on Monday, so I'll make sure I do it on the Monday. And that'll be another snapshot a couple weeks later into my T4 again, because I think this was on the way down while T4 was clearing my system. Now that T4 has cleared my system, once you rid yourself of exogenous hormone thyroid-wise, your thyroid's going to start kicking back on, your natural thyroid. So now it's important to retest that to see if my natural thyroid has crept back on. So that's where my thyroid sits. Vitamins, D's good, serum folate's good. And then something guys don't think about, prostate. I always get my prostate checked, obviously using androgens. You have like androgen receptors in your prostate, so that is why they attribute using steroids to prostate cancer, because you'll stimulate those androgens in your prostate will grow, and then you have prostate cancer, or more chance of prostate cancer, or you have an enlarged prostate which pushes on your bladder, you want to pee all the time. There's many, many things that have an implication into prostate. So as a man, as a male, biologically, you want to be making sure you get your prostate. And that's it, guys. Like, that's my full blood work. I hope I offered you a little bit of insight into where I'm at, a little bit of insight as to what you should be looking for in blood work, especially if you're assisted. If you're not, most of this is very applicable anyway. You just need to do it less. So guys, 6-week post. I am happy with these. Now, a lot of people might look at these and think, fucking hell, like, they're bad. Maybe. This is the sacrifice of bodybuilding. And this is the sacrifice that I'm accepting. And I'm accepting that the blood's in front of me. I'm okay to then push again. Based off my 10, 15 plus blood tests that I've ever had, this is looking like one of the, the higher ranking ones. So for me, coming off what I've just come off, going through what I've just been through in terms of hormone, steroids, anabolics, I'm very happy with these. Happy enough to then go and push again. So that is what we're going to do. We are starting a blast, which you guys will be knowing very, very soon. So guys, if you enjoy this type of content, if you enjoyed this video, let me know. I appreciate not everyone wants to sit down and listen for 15, 20 minutes, but here we are, blood work with an IFBB Pro. See you in the next video. Peace.